Welcome to the Roy Snar Show, entrepreneurship and giving back. Now, here's your host, Roy Snar.
And I think what happens a lot of times too is we need something in life, like you just mentioned a second ago, to wake us up.
Yeah.
To snap us out of being average, out of being normal,
Right.
to become it's almost like, okay, let me see if I can reach that next level of me.
Totally.
And I'm going to prove to myself that like, I better show up or I'm going to be embarrassed or I'm not going to live up to the hype or I'm not going to reach the next version of me.
Right.
And most of the time we put our back against the wall enough and hard enough, we tend to perform.
Yep.
You know, as humans we do. We don't always want to,
Right.
but when we do that, we do. And you did that. Dude, I can name countless freaking times where I'm back against the wall. Talk about my first year. I don't talk about this story a lot. I made $9,000 my first month as a full-time agent, $9,000.
That's amazing.
January. And I go to the dealership in February, and I'm looking at this red Dodge Challenger, SRTA, like the souped up version. They didn't have the Hellcat back then, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to have this car, bro. I'm a car guy. I'm electric Porsche Taycan now, but I'm a car guy.
Yeah.
And I go to the dealership, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want this car. I want this. Here's what I'll pay for it. I want this. They're like, dude, you do know this is like a $40,000 car, man. It's like $43,000, man. He's like, dude, you're like 20 years old. You know, I'm like, yeah, probably made more money than you did last month, to the sales rep. He's like, how much you make? I'm like, $9,000. He's like, what? How? It was like one of those Jordan Belfort moments. Like, if you really made $70,000 last month, show me a pay set, I'm coming to work for you. Right?
Exactly.
Now, I didn't recruit him from the car dealership. However, he's like, dude, if you made $9,000, prove it, and we'll sell you the car because you can afford it. I'm like, you darn right I can afford it. Now, was it a smart investment? Probably not. But
yeah, sure.
I go through it, I buy the car after printing off a pay stub, my Mutual Hall pay stub in the dealership just to prove it, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's funny about that is my parents and I are really close. We got a tight-knit family.
That's great. Yeah.
They're in Vegas on a vacation, love my family. On a business trip in Vegas. And
oh, sure, business, yeah.
so yeah, somebody heard that I bought a car through like the office. And so they told them, like one of the other managers told my dad, like, Cody just bought a really nice car. And I was like, no, Cody wouldn't buy a car without talking to me, man. Like, he did not do that. They're like, yeah, he did. So he called me and he researched and found back then you had 72 hours to take it back.
Oh.
And you could like wipe your hands and walk away, right? I don't know if that's still a thing. I don't know, but it was then.
Well, rent a Lamborghini for free for 72 hours.
There you go, I guess. Yeah, if you want to put up with the 4 hours in the dealership, but yeah. So, and he said, take it back. And I said, here's what I'll do. Put my back against the wall, right? I said, if I don't pay cash in 6 months, if I don't pay it off cash in 6 months, it was February. If I don't pay it off cash in August, I'll get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I remember walking with like a $39,000 check to Great Southern Bank in Springfield, Missouri, August, 6 months later. But I believed in myself and I put my back against the wall.
That is so cool, man. I love that.
It was cool.
Now, how long did you hang on to that car?
I hung on to it for a couple more years. Yeah. I've never had a car for very long. Like now I change cars like at the end of every single year, which is a little excessive, but whatever.
Tax deduction acceleration.
That's exactly right. So it's like 6,000 pounds. It's IRS tax 179 or whatever, and electric. So I get some electric, credits there too. So.
Yeah, it's funny too. We do that with our SUVs because again, the other thing too, the more that you make, the more that you're going to spend. It's just natural.
Yes.
And you always got to balance it because it's really easy because when you start making bigger numbers, then you buy anything you want as long as you can pay for it. Then you start stacking all these monthly commitments up.
Correct.
But the car thing, the same thing. Like we just we get a new SUV every year. We just flip it in.
Yeah.
And then I don't just buy all the highest warranty. I don't even care. Don't care if it scratches, blows up. Doesn't matter to me because we just flip it in every single year.
Yep.
So we're big in cars too. The next one I'm looking at, I definitely want the Hellcat. I've always wanted it.
Okay,
if I get an older one, get a pulley system on it.
So I start talking Challenger. You're like, all right,
yeah, that's
I'm
what I say. Yeah, exactly.
Because
it's like I have the truck, right? And I have the F350 diesel. It's like the biggest truck you can get. Do I need it? Absolutely not. There's no reason in the world that I need a big diesel truck.
Yeah.
But I like it and I want it,
Yeah.
And so like when I go for the car, I got to get the fastest, the best. Once I do go ahead and commit to that. But first we had to get the SUV because we keep having kids, and that's more important right now.
When you make $2 million a year, dude, you freaking drive whatever you want. And on that note, on the car thing, cars are like it's like a trophy. It's like a toy. It's like I want to do something special for me and reward myself. Whether people think that's okay or not. Even in my sales team, like Derek's going to make $250,000, $300,000 this year. You know, I'm probably a little high, but I'm doing that on purpose to stretch them, right? He's in the other room. He's got a Mercedes and a Ford Bronco. Like, he needs 2 cars.
Yeah.
Dominic on our sales team has already made like $150,000 for the year.
That's
maybe
awesome.
a tad high, but like literally we're halfway through the year.
Yeah.
He just went and got a nice new caddy for like $50,000. You know, Devin made 6 figures his first year with us, went and bought a Tesla.
Wow.
But it's also a good recruiting tool when you got all these top sales reps out there making 6 figures and like driving cool cars.
Yeah, no, it's also perception too. I mean, when I first started in the business, I had a 95 Dodge diesel. Now, if anybody's into diesel trucks, that is a golden year because it's a 12 valve Cummins. I had a 4-inch straight pipe. It would just roll coal, loud tractor. But I remember showing up to people's house to try to sell life insurance, and they look out the window, and it was a relatively beat up truck, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, what is this guy gonna sell me, a hay bale? And so I ended up getting rid of it, and I sold my dirt bike, and I cried when I sold that dirt bike. I was like, man, I love racing and being a part of dirt bike. And anyways, I got rid of all that, and I traded it in for an Infinity, like the high-end Nissan. A great car. We still have it today. My mom uses it. Yeah. And so I bought an Infinity, and then that gave me that perception of the client, like, hey, look, oh, you are successful. Because people want to buy from people who are successful. So I had to adapt a little bit, but then as more success came, I was able to be more confident and like, I don't care if I drive a truck, especially living in Texas. I can wear my belt just like this to do seminars, everything. So it's a little bit easier that way.
My dad sold 465 life insurance policies his first year in 1990, running a debit route with no leads, and was rolling in a Geo Metro.
Geo Metro?
Yeah, little blue 2-door Geo Metro, probably got 4,000 miles a gallon.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, crazy.
I remember those Geo Metros. He doesn't have it now though.
No, he does not have it now. Yeah.
But what they've done with those Geo Metros, they'll put like a CBR 1000 like a street bike engine in them, and they soup them up because they don't weigh anything.
No.
But he sold, that's more than a policy a day. That's like some like.
Yeah, and if you do 250 business days, he sold about 2 a day. You know, I mean, literally was making like almost 2 sales every single day for a whole year.
In the 90s, huh?
Yeah, in 1990, running a debit route while collecting premiums from hundreds of clients every month. What do you mean by debit route? So a debit route back in the day, and they still have them in certain like metro areas. It's crazy. There's no, it's a collection. You're an agent, you're a salesperson, but you're also a collection agent. So he would go knock on people's doors, like, okay, I'm here to collect your premium for this month. It looks like it's $34.60, and he would collect it.
For life insurance?
For life insurance. Sometimes in cash, and be rolling around with just a bunch of cash.
Carry a pistol.
And and then go deposit it, you know, and like into this account. And he was with Reliable Life back then. I think they still exist. I met a debit route agent. I've met a couple debit route agents still, by the way. The retention is insane because someone's coming to your house every single month.
Yeah.
And the referral piece is insane. Now, do I want to run a debit route? Absolutely freaking not. But
that is, I never even heard of a debit route.
It's
I've been
crazy.
doing it for 13 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was still a thing. It was way bigger back then when it wasn't like EFT and automatic bank drafts and all that stuff. But
yeah, I couldn't imagine knocking on somebody's door. Hey, you know, you're $8 a month for this final expense policy or this accidental death policy.
Can you imagine?
Wow, that's awesome though. I mean, again,
it's not your style. You're used to picking up big checks though.
A little bit different. Yeah. Well, I started somewhere. I started selling, life insurance in that big truck. I would go to a Starbucks. I'd sit at the same Starbucks every single day.
Did you do like mortgage protection, final expense? What did you do?
Yeah, so mainly mortgage protection.
Okay.
I did do a series of final expense. It wasn't really for me. I really nerded out on the whole product side because when I was first introduced to life insurance, it was all about the IUL and cash value and all that. And then I learned really how it works. And then I learned how term works. I was like, okay, well, term's more beneficial for most people because they need the coverage, and the amount of money that they have can only go so far.
Yes.
And then I really got into mortgage protection. Back then I was buying mailers. So as soon as I would close the deal, talk about reinvesting back in yourself, right?
Yes.
I literally, like even today, like I pay myself very, very little compared to the revenues. I put everything back into the business.
Wow.
And back then where I would sell a policy, I'd make like $500. Like I would just literally buy like natural ice beer, like the cheapest beer I could get, top ramen, whatever, and put the rest back into leads. And I kept doing that, and it paid massive dividends by doing so. But we were getting 2%, 3% return rate on direct mailers for mortgage protection. The market's a little bit saturated now.
That's crazy, by the way.
It was crazy. I was spending $4,000 and making $75,000 on average. And then we got so many coming in, I'd have my mom call because I hated doing phone calls. Everybody doesn't like that, right?
True.
For the first few years, I was sitting there just calling people nonstop, all day, all night, just didn't stop.
But you did it.
I did it. Yeah, exactly. That's why when people say, "Oh, I haven't made any money this week," how many phone calls did you make? 10? Whatever. I made more than that like last hour.
The average agent doesn't make 10 calls a week.
No, yeah.
Right now.
Exactly. And that's like, what are they going to say to you on the phone? No? Big deal. Hang up. Go to the next person. Plenty of people.
Totally.
But we kept reinvesting it and building that up there. So that's what, talking about putting right back into the business, starting all over again.
That's good.
Yeah, it was fun. And it was a whirlwind.
You said something cool though. Like you're making some money. You're paying yourself a little bit. Yeah. But you're not taking all the money from the business, right?
No, not at all.
That's what most entrepreneurs fail at too.
Oh,
they see all this cash, they take it all out, they spend it all, they waste it all. People that really, especially if you're in I believe you're almost always in growth mode and scale mode. Yeah. And that you should get to where, okay, I'm going to pay myself a little bit. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to do my thing.
Yeah, reward yourself.
Yeah, reward yourself. But freaking invest back in your business and grow this thing because you know it's
100%.
nowhere near where it can be.
Nowhere.
And then you're robbing from your own business.
Yeah.